Welcome to this live webinar on the heart circulatory system and healing feelings and emotions. I'd like to start by giving a little overview of what is energy healing. What is energy healing? Energy healing is leveraging the mechanics by which consciousness gives rise to form. That's based on the premise that everything that exists in creation comes from one unified source. The idea, and that's a pretty easy idea to wrap one's mind around, right? Like there's a source of creation, and then all the creation comes from the source. And yesterday I gave this very elaborate description of how, one self-interacting dynamics of the one gives rise to manifest form. More about sort of the inner mechanics, how the one interacts with itself to give rise to manifest form. So it's based on that principle that essentially everything comes from consciousness. Everything's made of consciousness. If we define the one as consciousness, and of course the one source of creation is going to be defined in many terms, right? Because it being the source of creation and completely unmanifest is going to have lots and lots of qualities. And, there's so much nuance that we can go into regarding the way we, through our little human nervous systems and our little senses of perception and our minds and intellects, through the filter of our being, our physiologies, which eliminates more than it lets in, how through that we would understand the source of creation. And I think that was kind of a theme of yesterday's session as well, kind of jumping ahead a little bit on the review of yesterday's session. But nonetheless, the point being that if we take as a given that everything that in creation that is created comes from a single underlying source, and that underlying source must possess the components of everything that this world is made of: intelligence, creativity, energy, consciousness, being, life force, right? Presence. So then in energy healing, we use our consciousness, our pure perception, our awareness to address issues, problems, illnesses, challenges, lessons, etc. And when we bring our awareness, which is that stuff that the source of creation is made out of, to bear upon the problem, we bring the resources of that infinite source of creation also to bear upon the problem. So we end up with a means by which we can use our own conscious awareness to affect positive change in health. Many, many decades ago, when I was learning to teach meditation, I discovered that part of the spiel that we gave people when we were teaching them meditation is that doctors agree that most illnesses have stress as a component. That most of the times when we fall ill or when we have problems, stress is an integral part of the body falling ill. So, and stress isn't really a concrete thing, right? Because you can point fingers and you can say, well, the person fell ill because of this and because of that. But we're all exposed to all these different influences. And some people are exposed and they fall ill, and other people are exposed and they don't fall ill. And why is it that one person gets the medication and it works great, and the other person gets the same exact medication, doesn't work great? The difference has to do with what's going on inside. So that's what energy healing addresses. It addresses the inside. It addresses the way that, talking about the way we deal with stress. Getting ahead of myself again, I think we did some healing yesterday for the autonomic nervous system, because the vagus nerve, feeds right into the heart and absolutely has an impact on the way the heart functions. So that's where energy healing comes in, because we're using our awareness to affect changes in the nervous system. Awareness folds in on the physical form. It goes back and it looks. You use your perception, not your going out, but going in, to look at what's going on in the system and feel into it and experience what's going on there, both at like really concrete levels, but also at really refined levels. And it's at the refined levels that we find the seeds of illness. We find the seeds of stress, the seeds of suffering. And awareness, as I mentioned earlier, impacts whatever it lands upon. So if it goes to those seeds of suffering or the seeds of illness, awareness is like a light. It shines in on that thing and it illuminates the components of that seed of suffering. And when the components are illuminated, it brings, by bringing the resources, like kind of great resources to it, we see these components within the context of wholeness. We see the components and the seeds of illness and suffering within the context of the overarching goals of life, which are evolution. And certainly we could define even more now concisely, what does that mean? What does that mean exactly, evolution? It means an ever increasing intimacy in our relationship with the one, with the source of creation, with God. That's evolution. Ever increasing intimacy. And what that means, ever increasing intimacy, is that everything about us becomes more and more like God, more and more connected, and more reflective of that quality which is divine. Oh, oh, beautiful. So we've got a big question here coming. Beautiful. So I'm not going to read it just yet, my love. But thank you. And I will read that in just a minute. I think what I'd like to do, though, right now, if it's okay, before we go to questions, is have our 3 minutes of silence. And the whole purpose of the 3 minutes of silence, why that's an integral part of these energy healing workshops, is it gives us all a chance together to turn our awareness away from out here, looking at Dorothy and her fingers and, and her jewelry, and turning inside and coming closer to that source of creation within ourselves. And it doesn't have to be an effortful thing, just very quietly. You notice whenever you close the eyes, awareness becomes quieter, the mind becomes quieter, awareness settles down. That's all. To whatever degree or to whatever way you experience that, may that experience be a blessed experience for you. And when we do it together, I think our coherence, we kind of create a field effect a little bit. And so that also adds to the effect and makes it richer for everyone. So, all right, don't mind the time. I'll keep track of the time. It'll be 3 minutes. And when 3 minutes are up, I'll ask you to open the eyes and you don't have to do this. You guys are grown-ups. I'm going to close my eyes, but, but you do like the way you like to do it. And I'm not going to be very interesting to look at, though, because I'm just going to be sitting here with my eyes closed. But if you wish to participate, you're welcome. And when I ask you to open the eyes, please take a couple minutes or a few moments to slowly turn the awareness around from that inward stroke, kind of gradually, gently turn it around so it comes to the outward stroke, back out, because that's the way we bring more of the resources from the inner chambers, from the inner archives of resource within us. That's how we integrate it and bring it out to the surface where we can use it. So, all right, that's a lot. Okay, I'm going to ask you to let's close our eyes. Bye-bye. Not bye-bye. Now we get to meet on the inside. Let's take a few moments and then open the eyes. Take your time. I'm going to start the prayer. Thank you to the source of creation for being everything, for being all of us, for being the whole universe. Thank you for the immeasurably precious, eternal tradition of wisdom that acts like glue or a bridge between the unmanifest absolute and the entire universal field of its expression. Thank you for this webinar. May this webinar be powerful and useful. May it be a moment of healing transformation for all of us. Thank you to all of you for being here with me. I am so grateful for this time together, because together our awareness acts like a very big, powerful floodlight, not just a flashlight, but a big, powerful floodlight that shines in on the topic at hand. It's a very timely topic, not just because it's Valentine's Day coming up, but also because heart issues and circulatory system issues are very much at the forefront of health concerns at this time in our world. And healing is needed. So thank you for bringing your lights, the light of your awareness, to bear upon this topic. May we uncover deeper, more complete, more profound understanding of the nature, the subtle nature of the circulatory system in the heart, as well as the connections between the physical structure, the physical system, and all of the emotional feeling levels of the being, of our beings, in order to more intelligently than ever know exactly how to place our awareness and how to place our relationships with ourselves in such a way as to maintain the very highest and best health for our hearts. Thank you for being with me. I love how these are often sessions of discovery. For me too. That's why I don't come in with a really like tightly set agenda, but I like to be with you and we're discovering together. It's just lovely. All right. Is that another question coming in? Oh, wow. Cool. Okay. So we'll definitely want to be doing questions, but I did want to do a little recap from yesterday as well, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. Oh my goodness, this is a long question. It's is part of it the question and part of it not the question? Could you the whole thing is the question?
That might be relevant to a previous question.
Oh, this is the thing uh that's in my chat window as well.
I'm not sure.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, good. Okay, very good. All right. Okay. So what did we do yesterday? I'm trying to remember. No, when we were in our silence, I was remembering. We did some healings for the heart, obviously. We talked a lot about relationships and how the relationship that each one of us has with the source of creation or the divine or God, or however you want to look at that, um, that relationship acts as a sort of a fundamental or a foundation upon which all other experiences and relationships are gauged. So it's almost like a filter in a way. It kind of like it enhances. It's like an enhancement to the filter that we're using, and the filter that we're using is our nervous systems, right? And everything that we choose to put our attention on impacts the nervous system. This is a well-known fact. It's been for such a long time known in the field of science and neuroscience that the nervous system creates new neural connections every day. Up to 70% new dendrites are produced every day based on the things that you choose to expose yourself to. So choices that we make on a day-to-day basis have a long-term effect on the shape and structure of the nervous system, which in turn is the filter through which we perceive, right? Because our senses of perception are completely tied in to the brain, and the brain determines like the acuity of the senses of perception and the flexibility and stability of how we approach the creation. And one of our experience in the world and what we filter in and what we filter out, that kind of thing, because you know 12 people can watch the same event go down and all 12 can see it from a slightly different angle. Half of them will be like, oh, that was a great event, and the other half will be, that was terrible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it can happen like that, and that's all based on the sort of slow progression of neurological cultivation that is the byproduct of what we choose to put our attention on the day-to-day. So if we take as a priority, for a long time, I said we take as a priority evolution first, because if you look at any kind of suffering or challenges or illness or anything through kind of the light of an evolutionary lens, then all of a sudden the suffering, the evolutionary lens expands the perspective on that suffering and allows you to see the sort of the overarching aim of the illness, that the body is our friend and it's trying to help us evolve, essentially. And when the body falls ill, it's because somewhere in our process, we are not moving forward in a way that's really effective and good for us. It's not keeping us on the path of unfolding our fullest potential, our fullest evolutionary potential. And then yesterday we added to that if we want to define, well, what really does it mean to evolve? It means to have an ever, ever, ever closer, more intimate relationship with the one, really. So that it's like we can think of the source of creation as the source, course, and goal of all experience. And it's where we came from, but it also defines the path. And then it also is the ultimate end to which we return. Anyway, that's a recap. And then I covered a couple other points when I was doing the intro. So maybe that's good enough for the recap today. We don't have to take so long because the intro was extra long today. And let's go into these questions. I wanted to promise the sweet lady who, did you print out, my dear, did you print out the questions that were in the Signal chat? Yes, I mean, not Signal chat, sorry, Zoom chat last night?
I could do that.
No, you don't have to, because there was only one question, and I think I remember it clearly. So, because it was really a impactful question. So the lady said that 3 months ago, she lost the person who was the most important person in the world to her. And I got the feeling from her question that she may have lost them rather suddenly, although I could be wrong about that. Yes, suddenly. She says, yes, she lost them suddenly. And that's extra hard when you're not expecting, because you can't prepare yourself, right? If you have an elderly parent and they're slowly declining, you can get used to the idea that, well, I'm not going to go out on errands with that person anymore. And then after a while, it's like, well, I'm going to have to kind of help them with some of their daily care needs. And then after a while, it's like, well, they can't really carry on more advanced conversations with me anymore, and etc. You kind of like, you let go of them in pieces, basically. And when you lose somebody suddenly, it's not like that. It's like it all goes at once, and it can be quite crushing. And the thing that's the most crushing about it, the thing that one has to watch out for, yeah, she says they were both age 66, and this was not the retirement that she was looking forward to. The first thing I want to say about losing a loved one, and actually, we did a healing yesterday for grief early in the session, because evolution includes the process of purification. And with purification, even though when purification process is present, one is letting go of or losing something that needs to be let go of. Whatever has been held in the body, even if it at this point is not serving the highest and best for your life, is something that one has become familiar with. And so purification always carries a little grief with it. So even for those of you listening who have not recently lost a loved one, I'm just saying that these same principles still apply. That there's always an element of grief involved in the purification process. And grief has 5 stages. And when you lose somebody suddenly, it's even more intense. And it can take quite a while to work through those 5 stages of grief. And the thing is that it also takes a while for the soul to extract themselves from this world. It can take a while. We think of medical death, like the moment that the doctor says, oh, that's the moment that the death happened. Like, it's like this thing, it's this point of no return thing. But the truth is that the consciousness in the body takes varying amounts of time to extract itself from this world. And the physical human body hums or vibrates. We talked a lot about that yesterday too. We talked about heart math and the electromagnetic field, and did some healing for the electromagnetic field. I'm just remembering back of the heart, for the heart. But that hum, that resonance that physiology produces or creates in this world is at a sort of, you could say, a slower frequency when it filters through the body. But when the physical body isn't there, that frequency of consciousness isn't gone or lost, because nothing is ever really lost in the universe. The consciousness is still present. It's just that without the anchor of the body kind of anchoring it into the material field, it tends to level up to a much higher frequency. It goes up to a higher, lighter, many octaves up. And as it is with our ears, when we hear frequencies, we hear between 16 and 27,000 hertz, I believe. It's about that. And so that's a pretty good range, but the range that frequencies can vibrate is much, much higher than that. And we see our visual field actually sees frequencies much higher than that. So the frequencies that we see with our eyes are much faster than 27,000, although I don't have those numbers in my head, forgive me. However, the frequency that consciousness hums, the frequency that the heart hums, right? Because we talked yesterday about the frequency of the value of the love, the sweetness that hums in the heart, is not just faster, it's also subtler. It's less concrete. It's more abstract, but it's still present. And the fact is, you didn't lose him. You lost his body is gone. His material presence in this world is gone, but he is not gone. One of the questions yesterday referenced this concept of sacred gardens of the heart, that for every relationship that we have, especially for significant relationships, we can find a place in the field of the softness of the heart where that relationship lives. Because at the gross level of creation, we're separate, like a heart, right? A heart has two lobes and they seem sort of separated at the surface, but at the base, they're unified. And the sacred garden of the heart represents that foundation for the connection of those two lobes. And it's sacred gardens of the heart are areas deep inside the presence of self that represent the relationship where you and your beloved are together, always together, always together, always were together. Even before you came into this lifetime, your souls in heaven got together and said, hey, let's do this. And even then you were together and you're still together. And for those of you who have loved ones who are living, you can find, especially if there are difficulties, and I should have mentioned this yesterday, difficulties in the relationship, you can go into that place deep in the heart where you share a space, a sacred space with that other person, and you can use the level of truth and connection in that space to work out differences or to communicate complex or abstract concepts that will help smooth out communication and support better integration of the relationship. The thing about a connection at a very abstract or deep level is you can't camouflage the truth very well at that level. At the really deep levels of consciousness, the truth shines like a light that is unmistakable. And so deep inside, we can just take our awareness in. And when I say take awareness in, it's good to close. When you close the eyes, the mind and the thinking settles down. Oh, this was another beautiful point from yesterday, that the process of transcending or quieting the activity of the mind gives rise to a condition in the body that allows awareness to become sensitized to the nature of what the nervous system is doing in the heart area. We close the eyes and we bring awareness into the heart area, which is sometimes defined as the temple of the divine on earth. Our hearts are the temple of the divine. The softness in the heart. And in the softness, in the ocean of softness of our hearts, there are spaces that are unique for each precious relationship. And you can find that space. You know what that relationship feels like. And bringing awareness to that relationship. You can bathe in the love. Bathe in the love. Bathing in the love of that relationship. And the love of that relationship is a harmonic in the spectrum of harmonics that are born of your first relationship, which is the relationship with the divine. Your personal, individual, you in and of yourself relationship with God is the first harmonic. And then the second harmonic are these precious relationships that we have with others. Or maybe the second harmonic is the relationship we have with ourselves as an individual. And actually in Gandharva Ved, which is a Vedic system of music, each of the different harmonics is actually identified with different family members and people that we're close to. And as we know, some of the harmonics are more consonant and some are more dissonant. That is, some of them are more harmonious and some of them are more not harmonious. And so I believe octave is father and the fifth is mother. And I don't remember I'd have to, can you make a note for me? I should go check that out. I should check out those relationships. They're important. But if I were to guess, I would call the relationship with the beloved, with the romantic partner, maybe a minor sixth, because that's a nice little relationship there. And it's not like as harmonious as the octave or the fifth, but it carries within it the potential for both. And we talked about this yesterday too, for both some dissonance and then also resolution, like for evolution, basically, because evolution flows in waves. The minor sixth is so beautiful, as is the augmented fourth, although that one's a more dissonant one. That's a more dissonant relationship. Let's keep it to a minor third or a minor sixth or something, because the minor third and the minor sixth contain also poignancy, right? They're considered blue intervals that are both beautiful and sad at the same time. They're so beautiful, though. They're the ones that make melodies, the types of melodies that last forever, because they're so beautiful. Just like the relationship, it lasts forever. It's just the body is gone. And you'll find as you're going along, as you start to come out of your grief, you'll find that you can always go to that sacred garden and you can always find your connection with him. And one of the principles or laws of nature of our universe is that when you lose someone through death, the love isn't at all, the love is completely unconstrained by space and time, and it isn't in any way stopped by the veil that sits between this world and the spirit world. Not in any way. The love flows absolutely right across the veil. And your love for him manifests as actual features of his environment and his world. It's beautiful. You can basically create fields of flowers in his world with your love. And he can do the same for you. In fact, it's a very interesting thing. I had a really, really, really nice relationship with my beautiful, precious father, who was, I would say, a perfect father for me. And he died a long time, now already 15 years ago. But every year on my birthday, I receive a gift from him. It's not a physical material gift, but something has happened every single year on my birthday since his passing that is from him. Like, I just know it. Like, something will happen and it'll be something that it's as if the universe conspired to bring some little experience to me that thrills my heart and fills me with love. And it's not a physical material thing, but it's a thing, and it's a real thing. And I know that it's because he loves me and he's still giving me birthday presents, you know. And I do hope that my love for him does the same in his world. So it is. So it is. So the relationship doesn't end, and the relationship doesn't stop evolving either. And the evolution, now we have it, so what we can see kind of straightened out, right? Is that the evolution of the relationship is to bring both of you closer to a more intimate relationship with the divine. And in a spirit body, in an energy body, that's a whole different can of worms than it is in a physical body. It's at a whole nother level. And it's so beautiful. And his experience of deepening his intimacy with God will reflect back to you because you share such an intimate connection. And the net result will be that it will greatly enhance your own evolutionary journey. Because just as good friends, as it always is with good friends, right? That we share with each other and we reflect common experiences with each other. And that's an experience that doesn't change whether you're in the body or not in the body. That's still going to be the first harmonic. It's going to still be the fundamental. All right. Amazing and beautiful. Amazing. You're amazing and beautiful. Thank you for your wonderful question. Thank you for bringing the tenderness of your heart to this session to share with us. Everybody in the session's heart goes out to you. And I have other friends too who lost their loved ones very, very recently. And it's just such a thing. My goodness. It's happening a lot more. In fact, anyway, we don't have to go into the research, but evidently that's a lot more common. It's a lot more common these days than it was. Okay, I'm going to go to this long question. And you guys, forgive me, I'm kind of a slow reader, but maybe I'll just read it out loud to everybody. I believe this passage from Theosophist Annie Besant's little book, Thought Power, may help hearten and empower the grieving wife from last night who lost her husband 3 months ago. It's from page 109 on helping the so-called dead. The capitals emphasize the part most compelling to me. So maybe it's really long. So maybe I should go down there first. It's the last paragraph. Okay, so I'll just go to the last paragraph. In the world into which those freed from the body have gone, a loving thought is as palpable to the senses as is here a loving word or tender caress. Yeah, I said that, right? Becomes a material form for them. Everyone who passes over should therefore be followed by thoughts of love and peace, by aspirations for their swift passage onward through the valley of death to the bright land beyond. Only too many remain in the intermediate state longer than they otherwise would, because it is their bad karma not to have friends who know how to help them from this side. So your grieving helps him. And if people on earth knew how much of a comfort and of happiness is experienced by the wayfarers to the heavenly worlds from those truly angelic messengers, these thoughts of love and cheer, if they knew the force that they had to strengthen and console, none would be left lonely by those who remain behind. The beloved dead have surely a claim on our love and care. And even apart from this, how great is the consolation to the heart. Bereaved of the presence that gave sunshine to life, to be able to still to serve the loved one and surround him on his way by the guardian angels of thought. It brings up another point, that we also don't want to hold the loved one here. We don't want to kind of cling to them or have any sort of clingy energies with them. It's good to grieve because they need to know how much they were loved. And so rarely, and this was also another point from yesterday, and it was a really, I think, important point, is that knowing how much we are actually loved is something that seems to be not easily comprehended through the filter of our nervous systems and our senses of perception, mind, and intellect. I don't know why, but for some reason, the way we're wired up, leaning into an inquiry into the degree to which we are actually loved seems to be one of the techniques that we can use to increase our intimacy with the divine. Because the love that God has for us comes from a level of form and structure which is incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible to us at the level of our individuality. It's not incomprehensible from the level of settling awareness down to the source of creation, because you settle awareness down to the source of creation. Oh, there is the entire field of eternity, absolute being, unmanifest, qualityless. But who settles his awareness, his or her awareness down to the source of creation, also lives in a human physical body with a nervous system, because the process of settling awareness down engages the nervous system. So there's also the matter of looking at the relationship through the filter of the individuality, because that relationship with God isn't just in the absolute. That's not the only place that that relationship resides. It also resides in all the deeper abstract levels, and it also resides all the way at the surface level. So to really comprehend the relationship, we need to understand and appreciate it through all of its layers, and then see that integration of all those different facets of the relationship as a wholeness. It's a really big picture, you guys. It's big, big, big. And even transcending alone doesn't seem to be even alone captures the source. It captures it from the source, but it doesn't necessarily unfold all the nuances at the more superficial levels, all the way up to the physical body and to the level where we have issues and problems and lessons to learn and stuff to face. Okay. So thank you, my dearest, for that amazing comment. I really appreciate it. And also for giving the reference for everybody. They can look that up themselves, or can we add the reference? We'll add it. Oh yeah, that's a lovely idea. We'll send the whole quote. Is that okay? My friend who gave me the quote, is it okay if we put your whole quote out for everybody? Because I know you put it mostly in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, other people raised their hand too. See, it's nice. So here's a friend saying, recently she's been dealing with the heart guiding the relationship between flexibility and rigidity. Can you do a healing for being able to gracefully move between the two aspects? Wonderful. Let's do it. Flexibility and rigidity are essentially found, they're like the qualities in their, are, you would say the qualities of flexibility and rigidity in the physiology are orchestrated through the nervous system. So it's really in the nervous system. Of course, we talked yesterday about the autonomic nervous system and its relationship with the heart, and how bringing greater flexibility and stability to the nervous system helps support the ability for consciousness in the heart area to expand and embrace the fullness of that relationship with the divine. But in this point, I think I'd like to bring up a really beautiful gift that another lady in our session offered from yesterday. She's this lady is a meditation teacher, and she she says this very beautiful exercise that she offered to me in her comment here. And she says she's been giving to people for years, and I tried it. Thank you, my love. I tried it and it was lovely. So let's do this for a second, because part of the thing about healing is we want to not so much approach it intellectually, but feel it, right? Feel it. So what we're doing here, this exercise, I love this exercise, by the way, because what it does is it allows the awareness to kind of settle down a little bit and feel subtle movements inside, subtle movements that we feel on the level of consciousness, but are also reflected in the nervous system. So it's a really, really easy exercise. It'll just take a moment to share it with you. She said, have people close the eyes or just look down quietly and imagine that you're on a bicycle on a gentle slope going downward. So there's not a lot of effort, no effort. So you're on a bicycle and you're moving without effort. And as you breathe in, you take the foot off the brake and you accelerate a little bit on your bike. And as you breathe out, you put your foot a little bit on the brake and you slow down a little bit. So let's just do that a couple of times. Breathe in, going a little faster. Breathe out, going a little slower. Breathe in and out. Can you feel it creates a little wave of feeling a little bit like your energy is breathing in, the energy is kind of moving forward and unconstrained, and then breathing out, the energy kind of contains itself a little bit like a squeeze, like an embrace, like a little bit like an embracing feeling. Here, the breath is helping to draw awareness to the vagus nerve and the autonomic nervous system to show the difference between the functions of the autonomic nervous system, the not systolic, sympathetic and parasympathetic versions of the nervous system. The sympathetic is the breathe in, and that's the activate. You're activating the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight, right? But just gently, 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 right? With this exercise. So we breathe in, and it's like that, right? The sympathetic nervous system is activating a little bit. And then we breathe out, and the parasympathetic nervous system activates a little bit. It brings the awareness more to a settled condition. Active condition, settled condition. Notice, if you do it a few times, that you don't even have to do the visualization, because there's just a feeling. There's a feeling of, oh, the activated, and then, oh, the more constrained. And this is the way we control with consciousness, the autonomic, like you can't control it consciously, nervous system. And my thought with it, as I was, thank you to the big shout out to my friend who did that, who offered that for everyone. Thank you. My thought is that gaining conscious awareness and conscious control over the activation of the sympathetic versus the activation of the parasympathetic starts to stretch both of them to work more to the range of their potential. Because you can think, well, if I can do the exercise so that I can feel that little wave of like more the sympathetic and then more the parasympathetic. I also, by the way, just as a side note, these are the same feelings that I experience when I'm looking for truth. That if I'm asking, well, if I ask a yes or no question, there's that feeling, that sympathetic nervous system question of move forward. Yes, you can go as fast as you want. And when I get a no, it's more like no, close in, and we want to put the brakes on. And I've used that same feeling as a form of dowsing for years. So that's interesting. And I hadn't connected those dots until you offered that exercise. So that's cool. I think that's cool anyway. But it shows how the breath, which is also controlled by the respiratory system, which is here in the big heart energy center. So the question was, can we do a healing and for this? And I would say I'm alternately offering an exercise that you can do to enhance and strengthen your ability to stretch that experience to greater and greater degrees. And as you do that with conscious control, it creates a sense of stability in the physiology, whereby it doesn't freak you out when the sympathetic is more active, or when the parasympathetic is more active. So let's just take that for a second. We're going to breathe in and out and just see how far you can comfortably, staying within your comfort zone, feel the sympathetic feeling versus the parasympathetic feeling. Right? So it's not such a gentle slope now, right? But you make the slope within the range of your comfort, but pushing to the degrees of your comfort. Notice when you push this sympathetic to the range and degree of its comfort. And I'm just noticing this because I'm doing it with you, right? Like all of our lights are shining. When I know that I'm pushing to the degree of the comfort, because thoughts start popping up that are associated with things that kind of slightly freak me out, right? So I'm like, okay, that means I've pushed to the degree of comfort, but it illuminates the whole thing. It illuminates the whole thing, the mental body, in the mental body. So here, now we're bringing awareness to the mental body and clearing patterns and habits, both in the mental body, and it looks like also meridians that run from the head area, particularly the center of the brain area, down into the vocal mechanism and into the throat area. And then some also meridians running down into the solar plexus. Clearing of habits of creating stories inside little dialogues and stories that we tell ourselves that trigger a response of feeling overwhelmed, that trigger, and I would say exacerbate other situations when we're facing situations and circumstances that are a little tricky or challenging or uncomfortable, that will cause the body to react and become sort of more quickly overwhelmed by those challenging experiences. Because what we want is we want to really actually witness the challenging experiences, right? No matter what happens, no matter how difficult things become, we want to be able to step back a little bit and witness and see that experience through the filter of evolution. Because it's the filter of evolution that provides the perspective that allows one to very quickly determine what am I supposed to learn from this? This is the whole thing, is that when you fall ill or you have a difficult situation in front of you, you want to get from, oh, this is so uncomfortable, I'm hating it, to what am I learning from it as quickly as possible. Because as soon as the awareness shifts from, oh, this is horrible and I'm hating it, to, oh, this is what I'm supposed to actually gain from this experience, then all the resources shift over to what you're supposed to gain from the experience. And that sends a message through your being to the whole creation, to the creator, basically, that, okay, I understand what you're trying to tell me and I'm on it. And let's get this done. Let's get this lesson done. So we want to make that shift as quickly as possible. And part of the mechanics of making that shift are to, rather than getting gripped by and overwhelmed by the uncomfortable experience, being able to step back a little bit, which is part of the value of being able to bring awareness down into deeper, quieter, more abstract levels. Because if awareness is gripped up here at the surface, then it's really easy to get caught. But when awareness can settle down a little bit, they say, close your eyes, take 10 big breaths, right? Like that's really common, right? Well, there's a reason for that. Because when you take a few big breaths and you kind of calm down, you step back a little bit from the discomfort and the freaked outedness of the situation and come into a place where you are witnessing it a little bit more. And from that witnessing position, it's easier to shift over and to see the experience in the perspective of what the direction that the creation is pushing me through the experience. Where is it sending me? Is it making me rest? I need to rest. Is it making me put my priorities in order? Is it making me reassess beliefs that I had about this that may have been incorrect? Is it making me rethink my, well, that would be priorities again. Rethink, my motivations, basically. I feel that there's a download in there that's coming to everyone. I've kind of spelled it out, but this is a download coming to everyone. It comes right to the heart, comes right to the heart. That this ability to do what is it? The out breath, right? It's that feeling of the out breath. Like the in breath is like, oh, I'm really in it. And then the out breath, I retreat more inside. And from the inside, I can redirect my awareness toward what is really important here. And what is really important is my relationship with God, because there's something I have to learn. Also, there's one more thing that makes that shift easier, besides kind of stepping back, and that is leaning into the unconditional, incomprehensible, unbounded love that is the constant of our relationship with God. And a really powerful and important question came up yesterday. Yes, but what if you feel separate from God? What if you feel abandoned by God? The truth is that the love that God has for humans is so big that it's hard to kind of keep it within the context of our awareness all the time, right? Because it's so big. Like for the senses of perception to embrace, you can't even. So it's kind of hard to hold on to it all the time. But in the same stroke, um, it's never not there. It just becomes camouflaged. And it becomes camouflaged with forms of separation. And ultimately, what's going on in any challenging situation is to bring the components of the feeling of separation, whether it's engulfing all of you or it's just in one single part of the physiology, but to bring those values associated with I am separate from the divine back into the fold of divine love. So love is also a player. And I've often said for years and years, I've said it's a catalyst for the healing process, that the healing process shines the light of truth, that we are one with the Creator. But all at the foundation and the basis, we are one with the Creator. And that at the surface, we are in a unified relationship with the Creator. But that's the truth. But the truth doesn't apply. It doesn't become integrated. It doesn't catalyze or activate the healing process. Love and compassion and mercy catalyze and activate the healing process. So that's also absolutely necessary, which is why we're doing these healings. Yesterday, it was all about filling it with all that sweet love. I want to do a healing for the blood sometime. I was thinking that would be a good one, but a lot of questions are coming in. So I want to make sure that I cover everyone's questions too. God bless you guys. I've suffered 5 Takotsubo heart attacks, also known as broken heart syndrome. Oh, God bless you. God bless you. I'm so sorry. That just sounds, oh, bless you. I'm not familiar with the term, so I'd have to look it up. Oh, wait, I write it. So broken heart comes when the first harmonic is not well established. The first relationship, the relationship between you and God, isn't well established. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, sometimes that happens. Sometimes little children experience home lives that are dysfunctional and difficult. And it's actually, weirdly enough, it can actually be sort of easier for a little tiny child to find their intimate relation and connection with God, because they're so innocent and they approach it not from a position of, well, I already have in mind how I want this thing to work out, and now I'm just going to pick up the pieces and resources that are going to give me that result. But they tend to approach it from a very, very innocent perspective. But it requires a realignment of your relationship with the divine, both at the very deep abstract level and at the surface level and all the layers in between. And that is more easily done when awareness can come to the process without a preconceived idea. And I'll tell you, that's harder. It feels like, oh, I don't have any points of reference to know what the heck I'm doing. I don't have that sense of security or that anchor to what I know and what's familiar. But so that's why I think in some religions they use the term faith, because it requires going into it with just a sense of, well, I know this is the right direction to take, but I don't really know where I'm going or how I'm going to get there. But I know it's the right direction. And when that level of trust comes into play, and it's very much enhanced by the stabilization of the feeling of sweetness in the heart, right? Because at least there's that sense of there's something sweet here that's backing it all up. But when one comes in like that, then the impulses of intelligence that come to you, the downloads, the experiences that speak directly through that cord of light and directly into the heart. That was another healing that we did yesterday. They come in a very pure manner, and they actually drive the integration of the relationship well beyond your expectations. Into the realm of the phenomenal. And why the breaking apart? So that you will come to it and engage with that level of innocence. The only thing you have to do is know that you're aiming for the highest. That's all. You're not going to pick up, you're not going to go for anything less than the highest. This is the relationship between you and God, not the relationship between you and something less than God. The highest brings it up to its fullest value. And I'm just seeing the vessel filling with the wisdom and sweetness of that relationship. It looks like your body is like this beautiful vessel into which is a pouring of infinite divine love. And it's yours. It belongs to you, you personally, not just on a impersonal God love relationship, but you personally, in all of your perfections and imperfections, or we perceived imperfections, adored completely and valued completely. And all those imperfections are the tools by which the divine supports your journey back to the heart of God, because they point you to the areas that need to be, that are the areas that are feeling separate and long to be reconnected. They don't in any way detract from your beauty and your adorableness. Not in any way. Not in any way. Thanks for the question. This is a somewhat practical physiological question. Another question. I'm wondering about the benefits of being cold in cold water. Oh, like Wim Hof, a la Wim Hof, are real. The theory is that being cold is a natural state for our bodies to enter into, and we tend not to experience it in our modern comfortable environment. Yeah, our modern society makes us kind of soft, doesn't it? Yet it allows for small muscles in the vascular system to be utilized instead of falling into disuse. Oh, that's wonderful. If I jump into a cold mountain lake, not much above freezing, could it cause my heart to stop? Or do I not need to worry? My boyfriend worries about this. My dear, I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not super knowledgeable about the physiological sides of that. Like, that would sort of be a question for Wim Hof, right? I mean, I would assume that it would depend a lot on the condition and nature of your own circulatory system. And if your circulatory system is strong enough, I would suggest something more like the exercise that we did, where you're kind of self-monitoring. There's an intention to evolve. There's an intention to push the range of flexibility and stability of the autonomic nervous system as far as it can comfortably go. And like the next time you practice it, you can go a little further, and the next time a little further, like that, so that you kind of, in a very natural and, I would say, well-monitored way, extend and expand the stability and flexibility of the system. But as far as the effects of jumping into the cold, I mean, I don't know. I think you need to talk to someone who's more of an expert than that. I'm sorry, I can't answer it, but somebody will know. Um, good. Um, here's another, we're almost to the end of the questions. Now let's do an healing for the blood. Another aspect of the in and out breathing is that breathing out into the belly. Oh, yeah. Breathing out into the belly is supposed to activate sympathetic, and drawing the belly in on the out breath is supposed to activate the parasympathetic. Oh, so that lines up with the exercise we just did. My body has picked up the opposite habit. So putting the attention on shifting this helps the nervous system regulate even more naturally. Oh, beautiful. So her point is that you can do it the other way too. You can activate this parasympathetic and the sympathetic with the instead of as we did it with sympathetic is the in breath and parasympathetic is the out breath. You can do it the other way around too. And that her point is that that could also lead to even greater flexibility and stability in the nervous system. Lovely point. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I had no idea because the exercise was new to me when my friend sent it in on the comments. This is a comment from the lady who lost her loved one. And it's very personal, so I won't read. It's not really a question, but I thank you. Anyway, she liked it. Thank you. Um, let's see. I know we've got more. Oh, the ones from from my friend whose name I will not say. So yes, we have a lovely friend who by the way, this very dear friend, I think I can give him credit. I'd like to give him a shout out. He's the one who's been helping me make all the charts that I use in these webinars. I haven't used very many charts in today's webinar, but just wait till the next one. We've got some really cool charts for you to look at for the next webinar. But his point was that he sees the heart's primary physical function as flow, which I love that idea. A flow of the blood on the surface, flow of electromagnetic energies, which we talked a lot yesterday, and slightly more subtle level, flow of desires, ideas, and all sorts of fine energies at every level. He said you could call it passion. And he just wrote this beautiful little essay on how passion shows up at all the different layers. He broke it. He says, I love the way this man's mind works, you know? So he's saying that passion on the very surface, like physical passion, is commonly associated with passions for everything we love in life, like beauty of a summer day and exercise and creating art and accomplishing good things and works, helping another soul, or even communing with God. And we could look at passion as it manifests at all levels of creation. Oh, so he's saying physically it could be like sexual or for sports and dance and outdoorsmanship. And mentally, we're passionate about our vocations or subjects of interest. And emotionally, we're passionate for our friendships and experiences of joy, such as making music together and deeply connected moments in nature, etc. And likewise, at even deeper levels, astral and causal connections are the roots of more expressed passions. Yes, I would agree with that. And spiritual passions are his favorite. Mine too. All these passions exist on all levels and are all needed to support any expression. It would be interesting to take a passion or desire and trace it back through its layers to its source. Oh, that's such a great idea. In thinking about how the flow of desire to fulfillment supports the physical heart and how the restrictions of that flow damage the heart. And then he made another graphic for me. So his request is that we do a healing for opening the channels for passion to flow through all levels, from the source to the gross, and for those energies to flow into, support, and heal the physical heart. And this is the current. And in this current world situation, we can do a healing for the heart of the earth, including our world family. You can see why I love this guy. Wow. And then he had a little addendum that he sent this morning. The passion for the one is the only true passion. Yeah, he's just reflecting off of what we were saying yesterday, is that the passion in the relationship that we each have as individuals with the divine is the foundational or fundamental passion. And it gives meaning and significance and balance to all the other forms that flow takes. Absolutely. All others are subordinate to it, embedded in it, and interpretations of it. And then he changed the graphic that he sent me to reflect that. What a guy. So thank you. All right, so let's do this. Those toes are getting a little cold. Speaking of getting cold, maybe I should, can I turn on, I'm going to turn on the heater. Hang on. It's still winter here in Iowa. Ayurveda talks about the flow of blood as the flow of bliss in the body. It's the flow of bliss. But that kind of lines up with the idea of passion too, doesn't it? Because we desire the desire for the bliss is one of the great motivators, right? And I'm looking at the whole system from the surface physiological level of the flow of blood through the body as it manifests, as that flow manifests. So we have a cycle of creation coming from the source of creation, going out, and then collapsing back in. And the awareness, we can grab onto the idea of the flow of the circulatory system, the flow of blood, and then we can follow that movement, which is kind of it's a movement like this through the veins and arteries. Follow it back. And how each little wave, as it moves through the veins and arteries, is like a little wave of bliss. It's a little wave that motivates life. And the motivation of life is the motivation to become ever closer to the one, ever closer to the divine, ever closer to God. So each little wave of the blood through the vessels is like a little call of connection between ourselves and the divine. Bringing awareness to the feeling of the blood flowing through the body and recognizing each wave of expression, each little pulse through the body as a call for connection. What I'm noticing is a rearrangement of priorities in the mental and emotional bodies. There's so many things that we feel passionate. There's so many things we do. Maybe some of them we don't feel as passionate about as others, but there's so many things that we engage in during the day. And the rearranging of priorities takes, what I see it doing is I see it taking pressure off. I see it removing pressure. We put pressures on ourselves. These are beliefs, and these are beliefs that are justified by impressions and memory patterns that, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and this needs my attention and that needs my heart really wants to, wants to spend a few minutes doing something beautiful or just resting or whatever, but but I feel that the world will fall apart. My world will collapse. I will not be considered lovable by the people around me or the people that are important to me if I don't uphold such responsibilities, and so forth. In the long run, the beauty of putting the relationship with the divine first is that all of a sudden, these justifications, these thoughts that create time pressure and also other types of pressure are seen in perspective. Yeah, and what about in 100,000 years? Is anyone going to care? Is anyone going to care if you did, like, look at me yesterday? I got here late. I got here 2 minutes late. I felt sorry about being late. I tried to be on time, but I didn't quite make it. But the thing is, I have a choice of whether I want to beat myself up big time for having been a couple minutes late to a very important meeting, which is very important to me. It's not like I'm late because I don't care, right? It's just that that's the way the circumstances worked out this time. It's like, as a mama, I've cooked thousands and thousands of meals for my family over the decades. And some of them came out really great. Most of them came out pretty, the general the general value of those meals has been pretty good, but I've had those meals where I burn stuff, right? Like sometimes it's great and sometimes it's less great, and there's a range in there. And in the end of my days, when I leave this world, are my children going to look back and think, dang, on April 12th, 2011, she burned the lunch? It's like, no. No, we had to eat pizza, no, 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 no. It's the love that I poured into everything I did. That's all that's left in the end. And to create pressure inside ourselves based on those that sort of sense of inappropriately placed priorities, it's done. That's done. You're done with that. You are done with that. This is what's shifting in the mental and emotional bodies, because we have mental priorities, things that we tell ourselves, and then we've also got emotional priorities. Oh, I'm not going to be loved. If I don't give until it hurts, nobody's going to love me. No, you are loved by the divine with everything that is about you, everything about you, whatever that is, you are loved. And that level of love is so big, it can't even be measured. So that's the foundation. Then we just go from there. Everything else is just icing on the cake. And anyway, the cake doesn't need that much icing, does it? So that becomes the measure. It is the unconditional, incomprehensible, sweetest of all loves that becomes the measure by which priorities are set up. So as the priorities dissolve, the priorities that keep pressure going inside of us all the time dissolve at a mental and emotional level. They are replaced by priorities that center around our long-term relationship with the divine. And let me tell you, that's a really long-term relationship. It doesn't end when we die, and it doesn't end when we take a rebirth, and it doesn't end when we are done with all the lessons that being a human being can give us, and we go and move on to other fields. Never ends. It never ends. It never ends. And ultimately, it's the relationship the divine has with itself. And that is a relationship of such sophistication, of such greatness, that we can explore it till the ends of time and never stop learning from that relationship. Nothing else really comes close to being a priority. Nothing else really comes close. Everything else is frosting on the cake. This is reestablishing patterns of behavior, also in the astral body, of being able to shift awareness into a place of inner peace when things get tough. Being able to lean into your connections to the best alignment possible with universal evolution. So universal evolution is going on, individual evolution is going on, and they work together harmoniously, right? And it's at the astral level that that level of relationship establishes. And it establishes on the foundation of the first harmonic, right? It establishes on the foundation that what's really important, what's the priority, is the relationship with the divine. Rearranging. We're just rearranging the pathways a little bit. You're doing it. I'm just reporting it. I'm watching it as we're doing it as a group. I'm watching it and I'm reporting on it. I'm not doing it. It is a privilege for me to see these changes and to report on them. This rearrangement of the priorities and the ways that we connect to the world and to the environment, well, it's setting up synchronies, how things unfold within time and space. That's based on those synchronies, like when you're at the right place at the right time, or you think of somebody, oh, I need to talk to so-and-so, and then they're just like right there and they call you or something. Those synchronies are stabilized in our world based on this rearrangement of the astral body, because the astral body is where we connect energetically with the web of life, where our energetic field connects with the web of life through meridians, right? Through the channels, through which those channels are made of awareness on the move. Awareness moving. Awareness, pure consciousness is being. It is the source, divine being, source of creation material. But when it moves at the level at which it's really active and moving, that's the astral level. I'm saving my charts for next time. It just takes time to translate back and forth to the charts. But so one of the net results of today's healing is more synchrony, more being at the right place at the right time, more having a thought or desire and finding that the means for its fulfillment is just present with you. And flow, I'm seeing a flow, an awakening flow of gratitude and compassion, gratitude and appreciation, compassion, gratitude, flowing through these newly opened channels. And of course, flowing through us as individuals, flowing from this area of the heart center back to the divine, because this is part of the integration of our relationship with God, is how effortlessly and how spontaneously our appreciation flows. And it's genuine. It's not something that we're trying to do. It just happens. And that level of flow, of appreciation, is something that is so, so deeply appreciated at the level of infinity, eternity, divine being, God, our personal relationship, however you think of God in a personal way. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, the next question is, her hands and feet are cold. Is there anything healing we can do as related to the heart? Yes, we're increasing flow. We're increasing flow. And at a very subtle level is also increasing the ability for Sadhaka Pitta, which is I think I referred to Sadhaka Pitta yesterday too in a healing, but the heat element in the body has 5, according to Vedic science, has 5 subcategories. And one of them is Sadhaka Pitta, that sits right here in the center of the heart, and the center of the heart energy center. And that particular heat element is more systemically spread through the body than the others. There's some that sit in more specified areas, like there's one of the heat subcategories sits in the skin, and there's another, I think, in the liver, and in the small intestines. So there, the heat sits in different places specifically, but the Sadhaka Pitta is all over. It's all over, and so that opens the thing about this opening is what comes with the flow, with increased flow, is also a sense of stability and trust in the process, right? A kind of a comfort that comes along with knowing that this is what's supposed to happen. This is sort of divinely orchestrated, and it's healthy. And when there's that sense of, yes, this is divinely orchestrated, it's healthy, it's what's supposed to happen, then the result is that there's a kind of a little relaxation in this area where the Sadhaka Pitta is seated in the body and supports its movement and distribution around the body more like without boundaries or barriers, because it's mistrust that stops the flow. It's that feeling, well, I'm not sure, like maybe I'm not supposed to do this or something, right? And the trust is a byproduct of increased integration between ourselves as individuals and the divine, basically. Because when that relationship is stabilized up nicely, then we trust. Even at the moment of death, you can trust. You can trust even at the worst moments, right? I use that as an example, but even at the moments that are the most traumatizing or whatever, there's still that element of trust is there, because that is the fundamental. That's where you're going. That's where we're headed, is to a deeper, more intimate relationship with the divine in life and in our physical bodies. And so each little distribution or wave of the Sadhaka Pitta through the body is an expression of that sweet, loving relationship becoming more and more intimate. Thank you for the question. And here's a question. What is your relationship status? I'm in a long-term. Oh, so this is from this beautiful, beautiful. I think of her as a kind of a warrior princess who lives in Europe. I won't say where. I'm keeping your status anonymous, my dear. But this lovely young woman, and she's saying, I'm sure people ask, oh, what is your relationship status? Oh, I'm in a long-term relationship with the divine. Lol. Yeah. I love you. You're so beautiful. So lovely and beautiful. Thank you. So where are we? We are 2:30. Did we start at 1 o'clock? Okay. So thank you, my dearest, for your appreciation for today's webinar. Another beautiful, beautiful young lady from Europe is saying, so lovely and beautiful webinar. Thank you, Dorothy. So, and thank you for reminding me that I should look at the clock once in a while, because I get so carried away by all this fun that we're having. But thank you, everyone, for being with me for this webinar for the heart and healing the heart. And my dearest dears, thank you for being the inspiration and shining your pure, beautiful light, your divine light shining through your physiologies and your nervous systems into this field of exploration that we're in together, and helping me see more deeply too. I appreciate it so much. I really do feel that this is a journey that we're all on together. And the next webinar going to be about forms and functions? How did I describe it? Activating. I think I said activating the potential in the different layers of the physiology. I think that's something like that. And
healing, activating the power of your subtle bodies.
Activating the power of your subtle bodies. About the same. So yeah, activating that. And I've got some beautiful new charts to share with everyone. And so hoping to work out the technology on that before we meet again, so that I'm not fumbling around with the technology at this end. And thank yous coming in. All so sweet. Everybody's so sweet. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to be together. And may we march on as we go along. Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, and being with all of you who are in the remote healing sessions very soon. Wishing everyone much love and light for the rest of the weekend and going forward. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Can I put up a heart? No. Captions. No. Okay. I love you. Bye.